Hello and Assalamualaikum to Dr. Isa. My name is Nurleza binti Yakub. Today I'll be presenting on whether it is morally acceptable to buy and sell pollution rights. I will cover the basic of pollution rights, the main arguments for and against trading them, and finally I will weigh the moral implications. Let's begin with an overview. Pollution rights or carbon credits are permits that allow companies to emit a certain amount of pollutants, usually greenhouse gases like CO2. These rights are often part of a cap and trade system. In this system, a government sets a cap on total emissions and issues pollution rights or credits that companies can buy or sell. The idea is that this market-based approach will encourage companies to reduce emissions since they can sell extra credits if they produce less pollution. Let's take a closer look at how the cap and trade system actually works. In a cap and trade system, the government sets a maximum allowable limit on total emissions across an industry or region known as a cap. This cap represents the target for total emissions and it's often lowered over time to encourage gradual reductions in pollutions. The government then issues or sells emission permits or credits, each allowing a company to emit a specific amount of pollutions. Companies that need to emit more than their allocated amount must buy extra permits from others. Conversely, companies that can reduce their emissions below their allowance can sell their unused permits for a profit. This creates a marketplace where pollution rights are bought and sold. The advantage here is that companies are financially motivated to reduce emissions because they can save money or even make a profit by selling their extra permits. This flexibility allows companies to find the most cost-effective ways to lower pollution, whether through technology upgrades or energy efficiency improvements. However, for the cap and trade system to be effective, the cap must be set low enough to make a real difference in reducing emissions. If the cap is too high or if there are too many permits available, companies might not feel any real pressure to change their practices. By gradually lowering the cap over time, governments aim to reduce pollution step by step using market incentive to drive environmental progress. Now, let's look at the arguments in support of trading pollution rights. First one is economic efficiency. By trading pollution rights, companies have flexibility to reduce emissions in the most cost-effective way for them. A company that can reduce emissions cheaply can sell its extra rights to another, balancing economic growth with environmental goals. Secondly, incentive for innovation. Companies are motivated to invest in cleaner technology to reduce emissions and potentially sell excess rights, creating financial incentive for innovation. Thirdly, evidence of effectiveness. For example, the US acid rain program used cap and trade to reduce sulfur dioxide emissions by around 40% in the 1990s, showing that a market-based approach can achieve environmental benefits. From a moral perspective, some argue that if pollution rights trading leads to real reductions in pollution, it's a morally acceptable solution. We call this as pragmatic approach. If pollution rights trading can achieve environmental goals that strict regulations alone cannot, it may be morally justifiable as a practical solution. It is also encouraging shared responsibility because it allows industries to work together as those with the ability to cut emissions more easily can help others who may struggle, creating a form of partnership toward cleaner practices. However, there are several criticisms of pollution rights trading. Critics argue that treating pollution as a tradable commodity can morally trivialize the harmful impacts pollution has on health and the environment. Secondly, pollution rights trading may allow companies to concentrate emissions in specific areas, often poorer communities, which could lead to unequal health impacts and environmental injustice. Also, some companies may simply buy pollution rights rather than make meaningful changes to reduce emissions, creating a moral hazard where pollution is seen as acceptable if it can be paid for. From an ethical standpoint, critics argue that pollution trading might undermine a collective sense of responsibility toward the environment. Wealthier companies might easily buy credits, while vulnerable companies bear the brunt of concentrated pollution, raising ethical concerns around fairness. When companies can simply buy the right to pollute, it might reduce their sense of responsibility to actually reduce emissions, which could undermine the moral goal of protecting the environment for everyone. In conclusion, pollution rights trading is complex. While it can be an effective tool to reduce emissions, it raises significant ethical concerns. Ultimately, the moral acceptability may depend on whether these systems are designed to ensure actual reductions, fair enforcement, and protections for vulnerable communities. If the system is strictly regulated and genuinely reduces emissions, some argued it can be justified as a practical, if imperfect, approach to addressing pollutions. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this gives you insight into the moral debates around pollution rights trading.